You ever get that weird feeling in your chest, like something just isn't right, but you can't explain why? Yeah, that kind of feeling. That's exactly how my Thanksgiving afternoon started. My old truck was sitting in the driveway, engine running, heater making that weak rattling sound it always makes. I shook my head and gave a small tired chuckle. That truck and I had both seen better days. Snow was falling outside. Not the pretty kind you see in holiday movies. No. This was the heavy kind that makes the road slippery and the sky look grey and sad. The kind of weather that makes you want to stay inside with hot coffee and a blanket. But I had somewhere to be. My daughter's house. Thanksgiving dinner. Turkey. Family. Football on the TV. Laughing around the table. You know, the usual holiday stuff. At least, that's what I thought it was going to be. Before I even put the truck in gear, my phone buzzed on the dashboard. I glanced down at it with a curious look. Just a message. From my neighbor. Nothing important really. But the words stuck in my head longer than they should have. Saw police cars down the street again. Family drama. Made me think about your worries. I stared at that message for a few seconds, my smile slowly fading. Because the truth is, I had been worried. Not about the police. Not about the neighbors. About my grandson. Something about that house never felt right to me. You ever meet someone and instantly feel like, yeah, this guy is bad news? No proof. Just instinct. That's exactly how I felt about the man my daughter married. From the very first day I met him. Something in his eyes. Cold. Too controlling. Like the kind of guy who smiles at people, but only when it benefits him. But every time I tried to talk to my daughter about it, she shut the conversation down real fast. Relax, Dad. You're overthinking again. He's just strict. Strict. Man, that word always bothered me. Because sometimes people say strict when they really mean cruel. But I let it go. What else could I do? So I started the truck and pulled out of the driveway. The highway was almost empty because of the snowstorm. Cars were crawling along slowly with their hazard lights blinking like nervous fireflies. The radio was playing some old rock song from back in my day. The kind of music my wife used to love. For a second, I almost reached over to the passenger seat to say something to her. Old habit. But the seat was empty. It had been empty for 6 months now. Losing her changed everything. Holidays especially. They don't feel the same anymore. Still, she used to say something I never forgot. Family is all we have in the end. And she was right. So I kept driving. Snow hitting the windshield. Wipers moving back and forth like tired arms. The road stretched out ahead of me, long and quiet. And that's when a memory popped into my head. Last summer. Fishing trip. Just me and my grandson at the lake. Great day. Sun was shining. Water was calm. And that boy, man, he caught the biggest fish of the day. You should have seen his face. He grinned so wide I thought his cheeks might split. Looked like he had just won the lottery. But later, when he rolled up his sleeve, I noticed something that bothered me. A bruise. Not a normal bruise. Finger marks. Like someone grabbed him hard. Real hard. I asked him about it. He smiled awkwardly and scratched the back of his head. Ah, I fell off my bike. That was his answer. But something about the way he said it felt off. You know that moment when someone lies, and you pretend to believe them? Yeah, that moment. I should have pushed harder, asked more questions. But I didn't. And that mistake still eats at me sometimes. The snow kept falling as I got closer to the neighborhood. Houses started appearing on both sides of the street. Warm lights glowing through windows. Families probably sitting around their tables, laughing, eating turkey, arguing about football scores. The kind of normal chaos that makes a house feel alive. For a moment, I actually smiled. Because that's exactly what I thought I was about to walk into. A warm house. A family dinner. A good Thanksgiving memory. I turned the corner onto my daughter's street. And that's when something caught my eye. At first, I thought I was seeing things. Because sitting on the front steps of the house, in the snow, was a figure. A skinny one. Arms wrapped around his knees. Shivering. No jacket. No coat. Just a thin shirt. And shorts. My stomach dropped, because I already knew who it was. My grandson, sitting outside in freezing weather, snow collecting on his shoulders, while warm light glowed from inside the house. I could even hear laughter from inside. Laughter. On Thanksgiving. And right then, something inside me snapped, because what I saw through that window next made my blood boil. And trust me, what I did after stepping out of that truck, nobody in that house expected. Not even close. And that was the moment this whole story truly began. Because the next thing I did changed that family forever. I slammed the truck door shut harder than I meant to. The sound echoed through the quiet snowy street. Cold wind hit my face instantly, sharp and biting. But honestly, I barely felt it. My eyes were locked on the kid sitting on those steps. My grandson, curled up like a scared little animal. Snowflakes stuck in his hair, his arms wrapped around his legs, trying to keep warm. Man, the sight hit me right in the chest. My heart sank fast, sad and heavy. I walked toward him slowly at first, boots crunching in the snow. He didn't even notice me. He was just staring down at the ground, shaking a little. Then I spoke. "Hey, buddy." My voice came out softer than I expected. He looked up, and when he saw me, his eyes went wide. Not the normal happy wide. No. This was the kind of look kids give when they've been caught doing something they're not allowed to do. Fear. Pure fear. That alone made my stomach twist. "Grandpa." His voice sounded small, shaky, like the cold had crawled inside his throat. I knelt down in front of him quickly. "Kid, what the hell are you doing out here?" I tried to keep my tone calm, but yeah, I won't lie, there was anger creeping in already. He glanced toward the house, then back at me, then toward the house again, like he was checking if someone might hear us. That made my chest tighten even more. He whispered, "I'm in trouble." Those 4 words hit harder than a punch. In trouble for what? He shrugged slowly, eyes dropping back down. "I spilled some juice earlier." Juice. I blinked. Juice. And this kid was sitting outside in a snowstorm. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. "How long you been sitting here?" He sniffed and rubbed his nose with the back of his hand. "Since before dinner." Before dinner. I looked up toward the house. Warm yellow lights glowing through the windows. I could hear plates clinking. People talking. Someone laughing. Laughing. Meanwhile, this kid was freezing on the porch. My anger started bubbling up real fast. The kind of anger that makes your ears feel hot. But I forced myself to breathe. I took off my coat and wrapped it around his shoulders. He looked surprised. "Grandpa, you'll get cold." I gave a tired little grin. "Kid, I'm built like an old truck. Takes more than snow to freeze me." He gave a tiny smile. And man, seeing that smile almost broke me. Because it looked so rare, like he didn't get many chances to smile lately. I stood up and offered him my hand. "Come on. Let's get inside." He froze instantly. His body stiffened. And that fear came back into his eyes. I can't." I frowned. "Why not?" He whispered again. "I'm not allowed until he says." He. That one word. Man, something inside me snapped a little more. I took a slow breath, trying not to explode. "Well, lucky for you. I didn't ask him." The kid hesitated. Then slowly, he took my hand. His fingers were freezing cold. Ice cold. That alone made my chest ache with sadness. We walked toward the front door together. Every step made my anger grow. Not loud anger. The quiet kind. The dangerous kind. I knocked on the door. Once. Twice. Footsteps approached from inside. The door swung open. Warm air spilled out, carrying the smell of turkey and gravy. My daughter stood there holding a dish towel. For a second she looked happy. "Dad, you made it." Then she saw the kid standing beside me, wrapped in my coat, covered in snow. Her smile vanished. "Oh." She glanced behind her quickly, like she didn't want someone to see. That alone told me everything I needed to know. I stepped inside slowly, snow melting off my boots onto the floor. The house was warm. Too warm. The dining table was full of food. Turkey, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie, everything ready. And sitting at the head of the table was the man I never trusted, leaning back in his chair, holding a drink, watching football. He looked over. His eyes landed on the kid, then on me. His expression changed instantly. Annoyed, like we had interrupted something important. He stood up slowly. Why is he inside? Just like that. No hello. No greeting. Just that. My hands curled into fists. But I kept my voice calm. He was freezing outside. He shrugged. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Silence filled the room. My daughter looked down at the floor. The kid squeezed my hand tighter. And that's when the guy said something that made the entire room go dead quiet. Well, maybe next time he'll think twice before acting like a little idiot. My heart started pounding. Slow. Heavy. I looked down at my grandson. His eyes were full of shame. Like he believed those words. And that was the moment I realized something terrible. This wasn't punishment. This was humiliation. And trust me, what I said next, nobody at that dinner table was ready for. Not my daughter. Not that man. And definitely not the rest of the family sitting there pretending nothing was wrong. Because right then, I decided Thanksgiving dinner was officially over. And the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm that was about to hit that living room. The room went quiet. Real quiet. The kind of silence that makes the air feel heavy. I stood there near the doorway with my grandson still holding my hand. My coat hung around his tiny shoulders, almost dragging on the floor. Across the room, the man stood at the head of the table. Arms crossed. Face annoyed. Like we were the ones ruining the evening. The TV kept playing football in the background, commentators yelling, crowd cheering. But nobody in the room was paying attention anymore. Everyone was looking at me. Waiting. I could feel my heart thumping slowly in my chest. Not panic. Not fear. Just anger. The slow burning kind. I took a step forward. Let me get this straight. My voice was calm, but yeah, there was steel in it. You made a kid sit outside in a snowstorm. I pointed gently toward my grandson. For spilling juice. He rolled his eyes. Actually rolled his eyes. Like this whole thing was stupid. First of all, it wasn't just juice. He grabbed his drink from the table and took a sip. It was disrespect. Disrespect. Man, hearing that word almost made me laugh. Not a funny laugh. The kind you give when something is so ridiculous you don't even know what to say. You're calling a 7-year-old disrespectful. He shrugged. If the shoe fits. My jaw tightened. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my daughter shifting nervously beside the table. Her hands twisting the dish towel. She looked uncomfortable. Sad. But she didn't say anything. That hurt more than I expected. Because I remembered a different version of her. The little girl who used to run to me after school, smiling, talking a mile a minute about her day. The girl who once cried for 2 hours when her hamster died. That girl had a big heart. A protective heart. So seeing her standing there, quiet, while her own kid froze outside. Man, it felt like someone punched a hole right through my chest. I looked back at the man. You think this is normal? He smirked a little. I think discipline is normal. A couple people at the table shifted awkwardly. One aunt cleared her throat. Someone picked at their food like they suddenly became fascinated with mashed potatoes. Nobody wanted to get involved. Typical. The man leaned against the table and folded his arms. You old folks today are soft. That's the problem. Soft. He nodded toward the kid. That boy needs to learn respect before he grows up into another useless brat. I felt my grandson squeeze my hand tighter. That was it. Something inside me snapped. I stepped forward. The chair leg scraped loudly as the man pushed his chair back, standing straighter now. Not scared. Just irritated. Like I was some annoying fly buzzing around his dinner. I stopped a few feet away from him. Looked him straight in the eyes. You ever sit outside in a snowstorm before? He laughed. Don't be dramatic. My voice dropped lower. Real low. You ever sat outside in the snow, wearing shorts, while everyone else inside eats dinner. He shrugged again. No. Yeah. I figured. Silence again. The kind of silence where you could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Then he said something that made the entire room freeze. If you don't like how I run my house. He pointed toward the door. You're welcome to leave. Just like that. My grandson's hand trembled in mine. My daughter whispered softly, Dad, please. But I wasn't looking at her. I was still staring at him. And honestly, something strange happened inside my head right then. The anger was still there, but it shifted, turned cold, calm, like ice. I slowly nodded. Okay. The man looked confused. Probably thought he had won. Probably expected me to turn around and walk out. Instead, I bent down and looked at my grandson. Kid, go grab your shoes. His eyes widened. But, shoes. Jacket too. He looked toward the man nervously. Then back at me. Then toward my daughter. She looked terrified. But she didn't stop him. Slowly, the kid ran down the hallway. The man frowned. What the hell are you doing? I looked back at him calmly. You told me to leave. He snorted. Yeah. So I am. He shrugged again. Good. Then I said the sentence that made his smug expression disappear. And I'm taking him with me. The room exploded with noise. Chairs moving. Voices shouting. What? You can't do that. My daughter's voice cracked with panic. Dad, wait. But I didn't move. I just stood there, calm, because deep down, I already knew something they didn't. And when the man finally realized what I meant, his face turned red with anger, because what I said next was about to flip the entire night upside down. And yeah, this was the moment he realized he had seriously messed with the wrong old man. The room went crazy. People started talking over each other. Chairs scraping. Plates clinking. My daughter rushed toward me looking pale, scared, confused. Dad, what are you saying? Her voice shook. But I stayed calm. Too calm, actually. The man at the head of the table laughed. But it sounded forced. You're not taking him anywhere. I looked at him slowly. You sure about that? He stepped closer. Chest puffed out, trying to look tough. You think you can just walk in here and kidnap a kid? Kidnap. Man, the way he said that word made a few people at the table gasp. Like suddenly I was the bad guy. Like I was the problem. But I didn't react. I just tilted my head a little. Then I asked him a simple question. You know what I used to do before I retired? He frowned. What? I nodded toward the living room wall where a few old framed photos hung. Pictures my daughter had put up years ago. Most people ignored them. But not me. One of those photos showed a younger version of me. Standing in uniform. Badge on my chest. Serious face. The man followed my eyes. His smirk faded. A little. I spoke slowly. 32 years. Silence fell again. The room got real still. 32 years dealing with child abuse cases. His face twitched. Just slightly. Like that information hit him out of nowhere. I kept going. Kids who were locked in basements. Kids who were starved. Kids who were beaten. My voice stayed calm, steady, but yeah, there was something dark behind it now. The kind of tone that makes people uncomfortable. Kids who sat outside in freezing weather as punishment. Nobody at the table moved. Nobody breathed. Even the football game on the TV felt quieter somehow. The man scoffed, trying to laugh it off. Oh please, don't start with that drama. But I could see it. That tiny crack in his confidence. That little spark of doubt. And man, I leaned right into it. You know what the law calls that? I let the question hang in the air. Nobody answered. Then I said it. Child endangerment. My daughter covered her mouth. A quiet gasp slipped out. The man's face turned red. That's ridiculous. I shrugged. Maybe. I nodded toward the front door. Pretty sure the cops could give us their opinion though. Now he was mad. Real mad. You threatening me? I looked him straight in the eyes. No. Pause. I'm warning you. Down the hallway, I heard quick footsteps. My grandson came running back. Sneakers half-tied. Puffy jacket zipped crooked. He looked nervous, but also hopeful. Hope. Man, seeing that look on his face hurt my heart a little. Because it told me something. This kid wanted to leave. Badly. He grabbed my hand again. The man noticed. And that's when his anger exploded. Oh hell no. He stomped toward us. You're not taking him anywhere. My daughter stepped between us suddenly. Stop. Her voice cracked loud enough to shake the room. Everyone froze. Tears were running down her face now. She looked at me first. Then at the man. Then down at her kid. The kid looked terrified. Like he was watching a bomb about to explode. She whispered softly. Is it really illegal? I nodded slowly. Yes. The man scoffed loudly. Oh, come on. But my daughter wasn't looking at him anymore. She was staring at the kid. At his red nose. At his shaking hands. At the snow still melting off his hair. And something inside her finally broke. She covered her face and started crying. Not quiet crying. The ugly kind. The kind that comes out when guilt hits you all at once. I didn't think it was that bad. Her voice was barely a whisper. My heart softened a little hearing that. But the man. Oh, he was furious. This is insane. He pointed at me. You're manipulating everyone. I sighed. Tired. So damn tired. Then I said something that made the entire room freeze again. You know what the crazy part is? He glared at me. What? I nodded toward the kid. This isn't the first bruise I've seen on him. Silence. Heavy. Crushing silence. My daughter's head snapped up. What? The man's face changed. For the first time that night. He actually looked nervous. And right then, I realized something. This story, this night, this whole mess, was about to get way darker than anyone at that dinner table expected. Because the truth was, I had been noticing things for months. And once I started talking, there was no way to stop what was coming next. The room felt colder than the snow outside. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. My daughter stared at me like the ground had just disappeared under her feet. What bruise? Her voice was shaky, small, scared. I looked at my grandson. He was staring at the floor again. Same thing he did at the lake months ago. That sad little habit kids develop when they're trying to disappear. My chest tightened. I hated seeing that. I spoke gently. Remember that fishing trip we took last summer, buddy? The kid nodded slowly. Still looking down. I continued. You rolled up your sleeve to grab the fishing net. I paused. And I saw those finger marks on your arm. The room went dead silent. You could hear someone at the table quietly set their fork down. My daughter looked at the kid. Then at me. Her face drained of color. What, finger marks? The man scoffed loudly. Oh my God, you're reaching. But nobody was looking at him anymore. Everyone was staring at the kid. Waiting. He shifted his feet nervously. His fingers twisted together like he didn't know what to do with them. That's when I knelt down beside him again. Soft voice. Calm. Buddy, you told me you fell off your bike that day. He nodded slowly. But, did you really? The kid's lip trembled. Man, seeing that almost broke my heart. Because kids should never look like that. Not on Thanksgiving. Not ever. He glanced toward the man. Just a quick look. But it was enough. That single glance told the entire room everything. My daughter noticed it too. Her face turned slowly toward her husband. Confusion. Fear. Anger starting to rise. Did you grab him like that? The man laughed nervously. Oh, come on. But the kid finally whispered something. So quiet we almost didn't hear it. He gets mad sometimes. That was it. Just one sentence. But damn. It landed like a bomb in that room. My daughter staggered back a step. Like someone shoved her. You get mad. She looked at the man again. Now her voice had a different tone. Not scared. Not confused. Sharp. What does that mean? The man threw his hands up. This is ridiculous. He pointed at the kid. He's exaggerating. The kid flinched. That tiny flinch made half the people at the table shift uncomfortably. Because everyone saw it. Everyone. I stood up slowly. You know what's funny? The man glared at me. What? I crossed my arms. In my old job, we used to see that flinch a lot. Silence again. Heavy silence. Kids don't flinch like that unless they expect someone to hit them. The words hung in the air. My daughter looked like she might pass out. Her breathing got faster. Tell me the truth. She looked at the kid. Has he hit you? The kid didn't answer. He just cried. That quiet crying kids do when they're trying not to make noise. Man, that sound crushed my heart. The man snapped. Oh, for God's sake. He slammed his hand on the table. Plates rattled. You're all acting like I'm some monster. Nobody responded. Because, honestly, that outburst didn't help his case at all. My daughter wiped her face with shaking hands. Then she whispered something that changed the whole mood. Why didn't you tell me? The kid looked up at her. Eyes full of tears. I thought you'd be mad. That sentence hit her like a truck. She covered her mouth again, crying hard now. The man shook his head angrily. This is insane. But my daughter wasn't listening anymore. She walked toward her son slowly, knelt down in front of him. Sweetheart. Her voice cracked. Did he hurt you? The kid hesitated, then nodded. Just a tiny nod. But man, that tiny nod destroyed whatever was left of that dinner. My daughter stood up. Slowly. Her face changed. The sadness turned into something else. Rage. Real rage. She turned toward the man. You put my child outside in the snow. Her voice shook with anger. And you hurt him. The man tried to laugh again. But it sounded weak now. Oh, come on. She took a step closer. Answer me. The room felt like it might explode. And honestly, nobody was prepared for what happened next. Because the man finally said something. Something so stupid. So cruel. That it pushed my daughter completely over the edge. And trust me, what she did after that, nobody in that house will ever forget it. The man froze. He didn't expect her to yell. He didn't expect the calm fury in her eyes. She pointed at him like she was daring him to move. You're done. You're finished here. Do you hear me? The room went completely silent. Even the clock seemed to stop ticking. Her son clung to her leg now, still trembling, still scared, but safe for the first time that night. I walked over slowly, my steps heavy, my chest tight. Pack your things, I said, my voice low, steady. He looked like he wanted to argue. He opened his mouth, closed it again. Then slowly, angrily, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The sound echoed in the house like a final punctuation mark. And then, silence. Real silence. My daughter sank into a chair. Her hands covered her face. I knelt beside her, put a hand on her shoulder. It's okay, I said. It's over now. He can't hurt you anymore. She looked up at me. Her eyes were red, tears still falling. But, she whispered, I feel like I failed him. My own son. I shook my head. No, you didn't fail him. You saved him. You saved him from a nightmare. Her son peeked out from behind her, shy, scared, but slowly, a little smile broke through. And that moment, that tiny flicker of hope, it was worth everything. We stayed together in that room, quiet, letting the tension fade. The snow outside had stopped. The house felt warmer somehow, like the weight of fear had lifted. And in that silence, I realized something important. Sometimes, the hardest battles aren't fought with fists. They're fought with courage, with truth, with love. And sometimes, that's enough. Because when you stand up for the ones you love, even when the world seems against you, you win. Not just for yourself, but for them. And that night, we finally won. The past stayed behind the closed door. And we finally moved forward. No more fear. No more lies. Just peace. Just us. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled too, because I knew we were safe. We were free. And that's all that mattered.